Hey, Doug, whenever you're ready, it is already live.
Okay. Is Jonathan out of town?
Doug, I spoke to Jonathan today. He should be on any minute.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think he's here. He is not logged in yet, though.
Okay, we're going to call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Lang, Harris, Bub, Blake, and Marmy. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $5,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are grant dollars that I get each year from the Licking County Foundation. There's a Flory Park fund over there. And what we do with these dollars is we have the walk bridge inspected by Doug Mill down at ADR. And then we have any repairs to that walk bridge made out of these funds.
I'll offer a motion.
Second.
A motion by Bub, second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $13,500.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Director Baum here. This is a request by the fire department to put money back into the vehicle account from the sale of one of their vehicles off of GovDeals.
I'll offer a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Bub, second by Harris. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. The motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is expenses. A request for appropriation. Hold on. It's the same thing. A request for appropriation amount of $36,930.
Mr. Chair, I believe this is for the vacation payout for retiring Chief Barry Connell.
Yes, it is.
Motion.
Any motion by Bub,
Second.
second by Harris. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying with a thumbs up. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for legislation to provide for the issuance of not to exceed $2.5 million of bond anticipated notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of Tamarack 40th Street upgrade, stormwater improvements, and all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency.
This is a renewable one-year note that was issued last year for the Tamarack 40th Street project, the stormwater portion. So it's going to be renewed for one more year.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bub, second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a request for an ordinance to provide for the issuance of not to exceed 500,000 of bond anticipated notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of the water system improvements and all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency.
This is the same as the one before. This is just the water portion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bub, second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a request for an ordinance consolidating two bond anticipation note issues of the city of Newark, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance just consolidates the two earlier ones for purposes of marketing those for sale.
Okay,
I'll offer a motion.
Second.
a motion by Bub, second by Lang. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to provide for the issuance of $2.9 million of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of construction Sharon Valley Road Fire Station number 5, including site preparation and all necessary appurtenances, and declaring an emergency.
This renews that note for 1 year for the fire station construction. After 1 year's time, it'll probably be reduced, and then the balance will be sold as bonds.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Lang, second by Bub. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by thumbs up. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. And that concludes the Finance Committee meeting. Next up is Service.
Hey, Brian,
Yes, sir.
how you doing?
Good, thank you.
I understand you got an item that came pretty late today. I don't know how we're going to handle that, except we can have wrath here at the discretion of the chairman. And It won't be able to be voted. We can't even use Rule 11 because it didn't make the cut. Unless you have another thought, or Director Sassen does.
I have no other thoughts. That's why I just threw it out there. So
I don't think there'll be an issue meeting your timetable, Brian, because it can be discussed tonight if you want to. It doesn't have to be. It can be brought to council on August 3rd as an emergency, and pursuant to Rule 11 can be passed then because your deadline's the 14th. You should be okay if we do it that way.
We'll go ahead and discuss it tonight briefly, just to say that we did. Ryan Bob, are you joining us? There you are.
Can hardly hear you, Jeff.
All right, let me move up. Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we'll call the Service Committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Jeff Rath, Jeff Harris, Spencer Barker, Jeremy Blake, Ryan Bubb. First, we'll consider Resolution 20-50, a resolution consenting to the construction of a multi-use path along Granville Road from the entrance of OSU Newark campus to North 21st Street and declaring an emergency. Who is here to speak on that?
that's me. All three of them are me.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
So these are all three preliminary pieces of legislation from ODOT that we always see when we start an ODOT project. So this project, as it said, is construction of a multi-use path from along the north side of Granville Road from 21st Street over to the campus. And we have just we've gone through the consultant selection process. We're working through their proposal right now. And this is the next piece to get to move forward with the design work on it.
Is this going to be a paved path, or is this also what most of us would call a sidewalk?
It would be a paved path.
Okay. And why the emergency? Did you say that?
It comes through ODOT with that on it. If you choose, actually these three, if you choose not to do them as an emergency, we're not under any time constraints with these three.
In that case, Mr. Sassen, are you listening?
I am.
I would prefer to remove the emergency clause since there's really no reason to use an emergency clause. What would the procedure be for that at this point?
Motion to amend to remove the emergency clause after you have a motion to adopt.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to be sure. Do we have any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lang had his hand up first. Go ahead.
what's the estimated cost of this?
Jeremy. So Mr. Lang had his hand up first. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Moorhead, I do want to just compliment you guys on going out and getting the funding to go ahead and do this. Really excited, obviously, to be able to connect OSU with 21st Street. I think that'll be a benefit to the neighbors in the area, and also, you know, the folks living on campus being able to get over there. So I think this is meets a real need. One question I did have, I wanted to see what's our anticipated timing for, you know, obviously people get excited that a new path is coming in and it'll connect things, but just want to kind of level set expectations for when you think construction would be, you know, commenced and completed.
Construction would be during 2023 and 2024. Hopefully it would start in 2023, and depending on the time of the year when ODOT would be able to get it scheduled, it may be completed in 2023, but it may spill over into 2024.
Mr. Blake.
What's the cost of this and where's the funding?
The cost is it's a really rough estimate right now. It's about $500,000, and the 80% of the funding would come through LCATS, through our federal funding that comes through LCATS. transportation funding.
And the other 20% comes from us.
Yes.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
I'll offer a motion.
Motion by Bub,
Second.
second by Spencer. I will make a motion to amend to eliminate the emergency clause. We have a second.
I'll second that. That's fine.
Okay, seconded by Bub. All in favor of the amendment signify with thumbs up. It passed, that amendment does pass, so all in favor of passing this as amended on to full council signify with thumbs up. That'll pass with a vote of 5-0 as well. Thank you, Mr. Moorhead. Our next resolution up is number 20-51, a resolution consenting to minor widening to accommodate the addition of two-way left turn lane on Church Street from Green Wave Drive to 29th Street in the city of Newark. Go ahead, Mr. Moorhead.
Again, this is preliminary legislation, just starting the project for this project. Basically, this would make the connection between, a few years ago, we did the intersection at 30th and Main, or at 30th and Church over to 29th Street, widened it, curb and gutter and storm sewer. And now this would make the connection between there and Green Wave Drive and complete that section of Church Street. As I said, storm sewer is also included in there. We have a storm sewer master plan that has a portion that would need to be constructed in there. And we'll pay for that portion of the project with our storm sewer funds. So any other questions? I'll be glad to try to answer them. I guess the construction for this is also in the 2023-2024 timeframe. And our initial estimate for construction of this would be about $1 million, 1.0. And as I said, we'll pay our share 80% with LCAT's funding, and then the remainder with our local share, which would be our license plate permissive tax, most likely, and stormwater utility funding.
And Brian, this is the Greenway Drive gives direct access to two of our schools. Is this, are we going to be able to time up construction on this to be during the summer months to be as disruptive, as least amount of disruption as possible? Or is it a project that would take maybe longer than that amount of time?
No, I think it can be done in the summer, during the summer season. We may have some overlap in either at the end of school season or at the beginning of the next school year. But yeah, we'll try to coordinate it with the school schedule.
Be awesome. Any other questions from anybody? Mr. Blake.
Brian, when we're passing these preliminary pieces of legislation and the projects aren't until 2023, 24, in a few years, so we don't commit dollars until those same years as well. Is that correct? So our
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the dollars that we would be committing soon would be on the engineering side of things. But so we have to pay for the engineering, some of the engineering services on these. On these first two that we've talked about, actually, there is some funding available through LCATS for the engineering services, but when we get to construction is where we really make the major commitment.
Are those engineering dollars already in your budget?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll offer a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Bob.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barker. Any further questions? All those in favor of passing this on to council signify with a thumbs up. That motion will pass with a vote of 5-0. Up next, we will consider resolution number 20-52, a resolution consenting to the replacement of two deficient structures, SFN 4560418 and SFN 4560426, over Log Pond Road on Mole Street, also known as County Road 813 and Jefferson Street, MR 491 in the city of Newark, and declaring an emergency. And I forgot to remove the emergency in the last one. I apologize. Go ahead, Mr. Moorhead.
Yes, pretty self-explanatory. Starting the process to replace these two bridges. We've been lucky enough to get some municipal bridge funding through ODOT to do that. So the cost of doing both of these bridges, there'll probably be larger culverts that we'll replace the bridges with. Our cost estimate right now, just our preliminary estimate, is about 1.25 million. And again, we've gone through the consultant selection process, and we're ready to get started with the engineering work.
I'll offer a
Construction
motion.
Construction of these is in the, again, in the 2023-2024 construction years.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Bub,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barker. Any questions? I'll make a motion to amend to remove the emergency clause,
Second.
seconded by Barker. All in favor of the amendment, signify with a thumbs up. That'll pass 5-0. Any further questions on the issue? Seeing none, all in favor of passing this on to full council, signify with a thumbs up. That will also pass with a motion of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Moorhead.
Thank you.
Next, at the discretion of the chair, we are going to discuss an issue involving Blue Jay Road. Mr. Moorhead, I'll just let you have the floor on that.
Yeah, so this is the final resolution that comes from ODOT, and basically it's the last piece of legislation that declares what our share of the project is, and also gives ODOT the go-ahead to get the project out to bid. So this is the resurfacing on Blue Jay Road. There's a small portion that runs from 2nd Street down to our Corp line where our quarry run is. And City of Heath is doing the rest of Blue Jay Road with their paving project. And we wanted to cooperate with them on that. I think Janine sent you the cooperative agreement legislation that we passed back in March. So this is the piece that comes from ODOT to say that we're on board with this and paying our share for it.
So, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Barker.
So Brian, can you, from the way I read this, our share is about over $5,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, so this did not make the agenda, so we'll be not voting on this, but this will be brought up at our next council meeting, not tonight, but in our next council meeting. And hopefully we'll be able to invoke Rule 11 and vote on it at that time. So with that being said, that concludes the service committee meeting for tonight. And we'll see you all back here at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.